Free money. Money for nothing. Doesn't exist, does it? Well, actually, I think it does. Or at least there are certain things you can do to earn money these days that feel that way. I'll give you an example and I'll move on to, later in this video, I'm going to show you different ways you can do this. There are all sorts of opportunities. The bottom line of this video is to let you know and to reinforce the message that earning money, making money has never been easier than it is today. Now, a lot of people say that younger generations, people younger than you and me, lazy, feckless, work shy. Some of that might be true, and it probably is true with a lot of people. But then again, what's wrong with being lazy and not killing yourself in work if you don't have to? If there are easier ways of making money than going and doing a 9-to-5 job and working hard and slogging your guts out, if you can just sit back and have the money rolling in, then why wouldn't you? Well, there are ways you can do that, and I've experienced it. I had an epiphany moment once where it felt like, all of a sudden I said, this is like getting paid for breathing. Now, in my particular case, I come from a family where my father, who was a comic strip artist and a painter, did painting, marine paintings. He must have felt like this at some point. He never transferred it over to me. I was writing a few years ago, I was working as a motoring journalist for a French publication, a French news agency. And I was getting paid to write articles on a daily basis, Monday to Friday. And it was pretty much left up to me what I wanted to write about, obviously linked to the day's news stories. So all I was doing was looking at the story about a car or a brand or some element of the motor industry. I was basically writing my opinion about it. And then one day, I mean, it was only short-lived. It was only for about 6 months, but it was really good money. And I sat back and I thought, this is like getting paid for breathing. I'm not getting paid for thinking, for just sitting there. Now, whether you're conscious of it or not, we're all thinking all the time, even when we're asleep. So I was just thinking, reading this thing, thinking what I thought about it, giving my opinion and typing it into a keyboard and getting paid really, really well for it. Now, my father, it made me realise, my father must have thought like that because he created something out of thin air, something that didn't exist. And without, I mean, builders do it, but they have to work hard, lifting bricks and putting wooden frames up and hard physical work, digging out footings. But this isn't like that. This is just like you make something out of thin air. He just drew on a drawing board or painted on a canvas, like I type into a keyboard my thoughts, and you get paid for it. What's easier than that? Well, and on top of that, it can even get easier still, because whereas my dad did one thing, sold it once and got paid for it, then he could do another one and get paid for that. I've found that I've created content and I've done it once and get paid repeatedly for it. You can keep getting paid for days, weeks, months, years, forever almost. So you imagine doing one thing, doing your job. Say you went to your job, whatever that may be, and instead of doing 40 hours in the week over 5 days, you just did it one day. And then you sat back and you kept getting that day's money that you got for doing it once, but you kept getting it every day without having to do another one. Well, that's what some of these opportunities are like today. Another one is, I had a website and I wrote even more writing my opinions, because my website wrote about what I wanted. And then that went up. Now, there's a bit more to it. You don't just write stuff and people read it. You have to write to keywords and you have to get it out there. You have to do it in a way that you know people are going to look at it and it's going to get an audience. Now, that's the difficult part. That's the only difficult part. But then you put it up there and there are adverts on the pages, and the more people read it, the more I got paid. I did it once. I did one article on a Toyota for American Toyota. It's an SUV. I can't remember which model it was now. And I got on the first page of Google for a really, really big keyword. And this article was getting about 1,000 views a day. I was earning more from that article on the days after I'd written it for about a month than I would normally get paid for writing an article for a client. And I was getting that every day. And I only wrote it once. But also, I could have links in the text of affiliate links, which is a subject I'll discuss in more length in another video, because that's a whole world on its own. But An affiliate link is basically you're selling something, a product, and people click on it. All you have to do is put the link. If somebody clicks on it and they go along and they order it and they buy it, you get a commission of it. You never have to see the product. You never have to touch the product. You never have to have any interaction with the customer whatsoever. But you get paid every time somebody clicks on a link and buys something. Now, if that's not like free money, all these things do have an element where you do have to do something. It's not just somebody walking up to you and handing out loads of free money. But it's the next best thing. It's about as close as you're going to get. I mean, let's face it, even a lottery win, you have to invest some money, you have to choose the numbers, and you have to either go to the shop and buy the lottery ticket, or you have to go online and do your little app and do that. So there's an element. Even that's not free money. But to all intents and purposes, people would feel like it is. So there's never been a better time in life to be able to set up your own business doing this sort of thing. There are loads and loads of different things. There's ways of retailing now, which I've discussed this in another video, but retailing doesn't have to have the crappy bit where you actually have to deal with customers like face to face, or having to deal with returns and that, because online retailing is an absolute nightmare. I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole in terms of having a shop and having physical products and posting them out like I used to do years ago. For the customer, it's great. They're well protected on the internet. In fact, most people don't realise the protections they've got on the internet when they're buying online. But there's drop shipping where you don't have to hold the stock. Once again, you just have to advertise it, put it in front of people. Now, there is a bit more responsibility in that area than there is with things like affiliate marketing and advertising. But even so, it's an easier way of making a living than having to take the risk of renting a shop or buying premises and water rates and business rates and taxes and advertising costs and heating and utilities. And then there's advertising, and then there's insurance. It's never been better. So does free money exist? I would say yes, because I've had it. I'll produce a list. If you want the list of ideas, I'm going to just write something in the comments, leave a comment for me, ask for the list, and I'll send it out to you. It's a sliding scale. On the very easiest end, there are things like writing or podcasting. A podcast, I don't think it's particularly easy to get into, because you need an audience to earn the money to get a good revenue. But in terms of doing something to earn, sitting down and talking to people, it's what we all do all the time, and getting paid for it. Any form of where you're creating something, you're making something unique, it's your product. You could be somebody who's into designing software. And with AI now, you can use AI to help you do the coding, write the coding. All you need is an initial idea. You can sell software as a service. You can create a little program that slots into something that solves a problem, or a calculator, something like that. And you can have advertising on it. People come to look at it, come to use it, see the advertising, or click on things, and you get paid. There are so many opportunities today to earn money in such an easy way that I don't understand why more people aren't doing it. A lot of people do think they'll pay money to gurus, they'll pay money for courses online, and they think because they do the course, then we're like, okay, where's the money coming in? But you do have to know what you're doing. You do have to research these things. You do have to find an audience, and that's the critical thing. And that's, if there's one thing I would say is more important than anything these days in terms of earning a good living online, it's you've got to find the audience. Now, that's a whole other subject in its own right, and there are so many ways. And it doesn't have to cost money. It can be completely free, but it takes some effort and it takes some knowledge. These are the modern skills that you have to learn. Now, I found that a lot of younger people, you would assume that they know all this stuff because they're born with a phone in their hand virtually, and the parents bring them up and the tablet is the nanny. But I find that a lot of younger people are users rather than understanders. They use the product, they use the technology, like the end user point of view, but they don't pay much attention to what's going on around it. I'm almost really interested in how things work And that's how I got into all of this sort of thing. I used to see people doing blogging and I thought, well, it's just a way of having an online diary. So it's just like, some people just having a voice, just venting your spleen. I never realised how much money you could make out of it. Now, the blogging thing has gone downhill in recent years to the point where for people starting off with just a little blog like I did and making thousands and thousands of dollars a month, that is still possible, but my God, it's harder now than it used to be. That's because Google did something with an update with algorithms over the last couple of years, and now it's not easy. It's not something I would recommend as the easy route in as it once used to be. But trust me, there are so many ways you can create a business these days from virtually nothing and make money, and it does feel like you're getting paid for doing nothing. You might have to put some time in creating the content or doing whatever it is, setting things up. But these things, once you get them set up, this is a recurring industry, recurring income. It's like, going back to my father, he once fell into a deal by accident. He did the covers for some Enid Blyton children's books. And he got paid one-off for them for creating the coloured front covers. And that was great. He got a decent pay for it. But a few months later, when he completed the commission, somebody got in touch with him and asked him for his details. And he was a bit suspicious as to why. And it turns out he was owed money because part of the deal was he got what they call lending rights. So these books ended up in libraries, and every time they got lent out, a commission was paid. And my dad, because he did the covers, got a percentage of that commission. It blew his mind. For him, it's like the holy grail. It's like, do a job once and get paid repeatedly for it. And that's the message I've got to get across to you. It's when you get into the second half of your life, you want the time, obviously time's getting limited. You want to spend time doing what you want to do. You don't want to spend all your time working for somebody else and being driven down by the daily grudge of 9 to 5 or doing a physical job. Grasp some of these opportunities. Subscribe to my channel. I'm going to tell you more and more. I'm going to go to all the different elements one by one over the weeks and the months to come about how you can make money in these different ways. Like I say, if you want the list, just to get you, there's too many things to go into in one video. This video would be an hour long if I went into them all. So just drop me a comment, just ask for the list in the comment, I'll get it over to you. And when I see what people are asking and what I'm most interested in, then I'll start doing the videos about the individual subjects and going into more depth. So, does free money exist? No, it's completely and utterly free? Probably not. But my God, it's as close as you can possibly ask for. And does easy money exist? Oh yes, it does. You've got to work first. You've got to do a bit to get there. But once you do, it feels like free money. What more can I say?